So we can all agree that Devil May Cry 2 is one of the worst games released in the 3D action genre, right? Well, if not, you can go watch the previous video and learn all about how that game crashed and burned, from the perspective of someone who had played it more times than any human being really should.
Jay, what are you doing? It's not enough that you stole my entire idea of reviewing the DMC series in 2024, but you gotta steal my actual show too? Get out of here.
What? You're kicking me out? Well, you can't kick me out because I'm leaving. Yeah, that'll get him.
Devil May Cry 3. This is supposed to be the king of the series, and I'm finally getting around to it. I just put out 2 videos on DMC 1 and 2, I invite you to check them out. The sign of a good game, sometimes, is that I don't even want to make a video about it. I just want to keep playing it. I have delayed the script for days because I'd rather play DMC 3 than talk about it. Okay, first things first. Can I tab out of this game without it freezing? Yes, we're already ahead of DMC 2. So the development of DMC 3 is interesting because it was made by the director that was brought on to try to fix DMC 2 before it launched. He couldn't, and he was given a second chance to make his own game. Interestingly, DMC 3 was originally supposed to be a pinball game, but later got converted into the now legendary hack-and-slash sequel. Crazy, right? I'm scrolling through my notes here and I don't really know where to start, so I'm just going to start listing things and how I feel about them. But first, are you a fan of Aliens? Of course you are. Well, you're going to want to check this out. From the team that put together the excellent first-person shooter documentary in 2023 and the 80s horror cinema documentary In Search of Darkness comes an in-depth look at the creation of James Cameron's 1986 masterpiece, Aliens. Interviews with the cast and crew, exploring every possibility. They talk to James Cameron, of course, the special effects guys, lots of the Space Marines, Bishop. I can't wait to hear all the stories they have. Personally, I want to hear from Paul Reiser and how he was able to play such a jackass. Maybe I could get some tips. If you love Aliens, like my mom does, you want to get in on the pre-order before it ends on May 5th. Please follow the affiliate link below in the video details or the pinned comment for ordering information. Ordering through that link sends a little something my way, and if you do that for me, well, you're just so beautiful, aren't you? If you pre-order, you can get all kinds of bonus material and get your name in the credits. Release date is in June, with physical shipping in July. I'm incredibly excited for this. Aliens is a top 5 movie for me. Thank you to Creator VC for the affiliate sponsor, and stick around after the video to look at the official trailer for the documentary Aliens Expanded. Aliens Expanded. Now, what was I saying about Devil May Cry 3? Level design is so much better than DMC 2. It's similar to DMC 1. Large places to explore, backtracking, it all connects together and feels like an actual place. I liked it a lot. I enjoyed exploring and finding red orbs and secrets and health upgrades. It's great. The combat options are superb. Dante is fast and capable, starting the game with just the right amount of tools to handle the enemies and have some fun while he does it. You're given a choice of playstyle before the first fight even begins, and I had to go with Swordmaster because I love the aerial combos. I'm slashing up bad guys using delayed combo attacks, using the style button for air combos, and crashing down to the ground, integrating pistols where I can. The action starts right away, and it's good. You come up on a mini-boss in the second room, who plays defensively and kinda parries you, so you learn to react and either dodge to the side or jump, which I prefer so I can attack on the way down. He also has a teleport attack, and you react to the sound and time your dodge. Tricky to get the hang of, but I really appreciate that they're immediately throwing something at you that you need to pay attention to. Like in the other games, reaching a high style meter grants an orb bonus, which is great. I love a style meter that has real-time benefits. I also really like how reaching triple S rank will enhance certain special attacks, extending the number of hits. It's a really nice touch and a cool reward for playing effectively and fun. But I'm starting to get annoyed at the lack of feedback. I would care a lot more about the orb bonus granted by a higher style meter if there was something on screen that actually showed me what I was earning. I'll use God of War as an example. As you're racking up a combo in God of War, you get an orb bonus for every milestone. 10 hits plus 2 orbs, 20 hits another 4, so that's 6 total. You get all this real-time feedback about what your combo is giving you. It feels good to see that plus 25 and plus 50 orbs as you reach a big combo. DMC doesn't have anything like that, and I'm left wondering, okay, what did I get from all those combos? But I gotta mention something that I absolutely loved, and that ties into the discussion I regularly have on this channel about style-focused games needing to force players into experimentation. I hear a lot that these games should just be open playgrounds of experimentation, and you should never be forced to play in any certain way, even though that would absolutely get resistant players into experimenting with mechanics they're overlooking. Well, not only does DMC3's first playthrough present a decent enough challenge to encourage experimentation, there are these statues placed around the levels that require a high style meter to break. Just mashing attack will not raise the style meter. You gotta try delayed combo strings, air launchers, aerial attacks, swordmaster style attacks. If you want to break these statues and get a bunch of red orbs, you must attack them using variety and style. It's brilliant. It teaches you playstyles that are effective and fun. It teaches you mastery of the weapon you're using. These little nudges towards stylish play are very welcome, and I wish more style-focused games had them, instead of relegating stylish play towards arbitrary level ranking systems. It worked on me, I'm sure it would work on others. So, this is all great. The improvement over DMC2 is immediately apparent. It feels like a faster version of DMC1, which is awesome. But it also introduces the first major problem this game has. Okay, everyone, let's just take a deep breath. We're not going to get worked up. We're going to keep in mind that regardless of any criticism I have about DMC3, I like this game very much. I beat the campaign 3 times on normal, hard, and very hard. I eventually installed Style Switcher so I could improvise more in combat. I had a good time with this game, and at times I absolutely loved it. Okay? Okay. So let's talk about the camera. It's immediately a problem by the second fight. And it's because the action is so fast and frantic, and the fixed perspective often leads to enemies being off-screen, far more than in DMC1, because that was a slower game. Here things are flying around all the time, and while you can adjust the camera, sometimes I was unable to get it to move unless I stopped moving myself. And it's just awkward to have to take your thumb off the face buttons just to make an adjustment to the camera that may not even work because depending on where you're standing, the camera will only rotate so far, and then the camera absolutely freaks out whenever you're near a wall. Like I said in my DMC1 video, you gotta give the win to God of War here. In God of War, they pull back and let you see more of the battlefield. Sometimes they really pull back and give great dramatic framing of the environment, so you can both focus on the fight with clear visibility and admire the location you're in. I know I mention God of War every time, but it's my frame of reference, and I think it does a few things objectively better. In Devil May Cry, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because DMC1 originally came from an early build of Resident Evil 4, but I feel like the angles don't frame this kind of combat the way it should. Look at early RE4 builds, see how the moving camera frames Leon. This is why DMC1 looks the way it does, and this camera style is still present in DMC3. I love the dramatic framing of a lot of the levels, but the action has accelerated to a point where sometimes, it just doesn't work. Dude, this is fucking ridiculous. There are moments in DMC3 where the camera actually does pull back, but there's no combat in these spaces. This is the exact kind of place where I want to be fighting. The camera is just too close to the character in this game, and it makes me enjoy fights less than I could have, like the Cerberus boss fight. I understand a lot of DMC fans love this fight, and I guess I can see why. His really fast movements and attack variety probably make him a challenging but rewarding fight to master. But in my experience, I found it too frustrating to get close to him, not necessarily because of his fast, dangerous attacks, but because the camera is so zoomed in that I can't really get a visual read on what he's doing or what attack he's telegraphing while I'm slashing at him. It honestly was a better option to just sit back and spam pistols. I saw the DSP footage where that's the first thing he attempted, and he nearly beat Cerberus on the first try in like 2 minutes. And then he tried fighting up close and just got clobbered over and over. So the message is, if you're not good at the game yet, it's better to just stay back and shoot him. And you gotta realize, most people playing for their first time are going to suck. They aren't gonna understand the boss behaviors, and the camera being so close when you're in his face certainly doesn't help. On repeat playthroughs, sure, I play a lot more in his face and I take him down faster this way, but not really because I've figured out the fight, more so because I have enough HP and Devil Trigger to survive being up close. So I didn't enjoy Cerberus all that much. Hell, even on my third time against him playing on very hard, I still didn't enjoy him. Because I'm just not in the headspace to want to study him. I see him more as an obstacle I need to get past in order to see the rest of the game, which I enjoy far more. Because this game does get really good, but what makes it good is the combat mechanics, the variety of stylish options and weapons at your disposal, and most of all the challenge that pushes you to not play like a moron. DMC 3 is an infamously difficult game. The original American release had a normal mode that was actually set to hard mode in Japan and Europe, so American players got an extra dose of suffering. The HD collection that I'm playing on standardizes the difficulty, so I played on the true normal setting on my first playthrough. And let me tell you, normal is no joke for a new player. Normal in DMC 3 is like normal in Ninja Gaiden Black. It's hard, especially if you're not a seasoned player. When you start the game, you're given the option of gold or yellow, and it doesn't say what that means. I'm assuming that was left for the included booklet. So this is the continue mode. Yellow is the classic DMC 1 continue mode that I enjoyed so much in that game. If you die, you have to spend a yellow orb to restart in the previous room. If you run out of yellow orbs, you have to restart the whole level. I felt this added an excellent degree of pressure in DMC 1 because I was forced to choose between buying more continues or investing in upgrades. I would regularly stock up on health potions just to avoid death, and this kept me from just dumping everything into making myself more powerful. I loved making those tough decisions with limited resources. But I heard that DMC 3 players prefer gold mode because yellow is super punishing and frustrating. I did not listen. I needed to try yellow for myself, and my god, it's brutal. I liked it for a while, but by level 5, dying several times at the centipede boss and having to replay the entire tower section over and over, I just got tired of it. So I restarted the game on gold mode, which has infinite continues letting you restart in the previous room, but also has super expensive gold orbs that can revive you right there in the middle of combat. This is how I remember DMC 5 being, if I'm correct. This definitely felt a lot better. It was less frustrating. I was just so tired of going through an entire level and dying at the boss, and now I'm back at the beginning of the level because I ran out of orbs. However, gold mode has a significantly negative impact on resource management. Now I never feel like I need to buy health potions. If I die, I'll just respawn with full health and try again. And since I never felt like I needed to buy any items to survive, out of that intense fear of having to restart the level, I just put all my orbs into upgrades without thinking about it. And I'll bet a lot of people have that experience too, because without a real consequence for dying, why do you need to buy items to help you survive? That's why I would propose a single change to the gold continue system. I think you should not respawn with full health if that's not the health you had in the previous room. If you had 20% health and you went into a fight and died, you should respawn with 20% health. You should be pressured into healing yourself. This would make you more careful about taking damage, and it would actually make you think about what you're buying in the store so you can survive the next fight. Therefore, red orbs would become a more valuable resource, and there's more reason to play into the style meter so you can get more orbs in combat. All the systems would work together so much better if you were held accountable for your own health bar room to room. Despite the lack of health management and pressure to buy items in gold mode, I still had a really good time. Enemies were challenging, combos started flowing out of me very naturally. There didn't seem to be any one easy, brain-dead way to pass every fight, and that's especially true in yellow mode because playing carelessly will destroy your health bar. Boss fights were creative, unique from each other, and fun, for the most part. I think my favorite bosses are the Heart of Leviathan and Beowulf, though I think the Beowulf fight suffers from the same up-close camera issue, making it hard to read what he's gonna do. Actually, the Beowulf fight really made me realize how much I hate how dodging works in this game. There's no dedicated dodge button. You have to hold lock on and then press left or right plus jump. The problem is that since there's so much chaos obscuring the camera at times and enemies bouncing around as you're locked onto them, the game's moving so fast it's very easy to not know exactly what angle Dante is facing. So instead of a side dodge, I instead get a backflip, and then something hits me in the air, like Beowulf's anti-air punches. It happens so many times. It really made me miss DMC 2's dedicated dodge button. Now, the Devil May Cry 3 players are already typing, if you want a dodge button, you should use Trickster playstyle. And yes, I did sometimes, but I hate that I have to give up Swordmaster style in order to access a dodge move. You can't change style during combat, you have to pick a style and basically play the whole level with it. Swordmaster gives you so many great attack options, and in the case of the Ice Shield, defensive options, that it makes the game's combat truly come alive for me. I find the game a lot less fun if I don't have Swordmaster. So I just played without a dodge. Eventually, on my second playthrough, I installed the Style Switcher PC mod, and that let me change to Trickster on the fly, and that was really fun to play with. People say Style Switcher breaks the game, but I think that's only true if you're a really good player. There's no way in hell that simply being able to access more styles and weapons during combat would have turned my playthroughs into a breeze. Style mod or not, the game remained very challenging. But yeah, Beowulf was fun, and once I figured out I could use the Ice Shield to protect myself from his nuclear blast, I had a lot of fun maintaining constant offense as I learned his attack patterns. Nevin was also an interesting boss to figure out. I didn't so much like how much of the fight she's invulnerable, but figuring out her patterns was entertaining, and I felt really good once I finally took her down. This fight is becoming more fun the more I replay it, and now that I'm using the Devil Trigger explosion mechanic, I love using a full charge to instantly take down her defenses and get some easy damage. Do I talk about every boss? Is that what you guys want? Okay, I guess I'll do it. The Heart of Leviathan. This guy gives me trouble every time. I just recently beat him on very hard, and wow, those lasers, they mess me up every time. It's really interesting that you can focus on the left heart to stop the laser spam, or you can focus on the right heart to stop it from draining your Devil Trigger. I focus on the right heart because Devil Trigger is so important, and I let the lasers kill all the enemies on the stage. It was fun to figure out how to stay in the air for a long time, timing my Swordmaster slashes with air hike, switching to other weapons to stay up longer. The tech in this game is really cool. Gigapede. I wasn't the biggest fan of this fight at first. It took a long time to take him down with guns and air slashes, but eventually I figured out you can jump on him from the ledges and get a bunch of damage on him, especially if you target his head. I like this fight a lot now. Agni and Rudra. I didn't like this fight very much either, it takes a really long time. That's because I didn't understand key tactics to taking them down. They're incredibly defensive. I'd get stuck in loops of just waiting for them to attack, getting in a couple hits, and then waiting. I also had massive frustrations with the camera, because it's really easy to end up against the wall and then it's absolute camera chaos. From time to time, one of them would get stunned, and I couldn't figure out why. I think it's because they would accidentally bang their weapons together. And on one of my higher difficulty fights with them, I figured out I could time my downward slash with their attacks to create collisions that would stun them quickly, and then I'd get in a lot of damage. I'm starting to like this fight more and more as I get better. Lady. Not a fan. She's hot, that's about all I can say in the positive column. She runs away constantly, and this fight is super annoying. Jester. He's an interesting one. You fight him 3 times, I think, and he's kinda simple. I shoot him as he dances until I can go in for combo damage, and then he starts throwing fireballs. It becomes a dodging game, or I run in and do damage on him, pulling Devil Trigger when things get dangerous up close. I use the rocket launcher when he's on top of the giant bouncy ball. This fight's alright. By the way, I don't care about taking damage or completion time. I don't care about level ranking. I'm just having fun because the game is challenging and interesting without having to apply arbitrary goals. Geron the Horse. I don't really know how to judge the quality of this fight. He certainly can be annoying as he just runs in circles spamming missiles, and in his later phase you've got all these time distortion bubbles that fuck with you. You've got to get in close when you can and knock him down, get in damage while avoiding the bubbles. I guess I don't like this fight so much, but once I found out you can jump onto his carriage and just wail at him, he became a lot easier to take down. Not the best fight, not the worst either. The worst is Arkham. Boring as all hell. Impossible to react to, and half the fight is just spamming rockets at leeches in the water. Insufferable fight, I'd skip it every time if I could. Doppelganger, love it. I love bosses with puzzle-like designs. You trick him into getting close when you open these lights and you get a little damage. Open all the lights and you can go in for a big combo. He starts shooting fireballs to turn the lights back off. This fight was really fun, and it was especially unique in the list of bosses. And yeah, like 80% of the bosses are enjoyable and really different from each other, and on higher difficulties they're just getting better. Moving on, standing as a stark contrast to the quality of boss fights are the encounters with common enemies. If 80% of the boss battles are awesome, it's the opposite for the room-to-room fights. The enemies in this game fucking suck. The first ones are good, I'll go over them. The most common enemies are the 7 Hells. 7 similar but different enemies that all fall into one category. Most of them have weapons, they can guard themselves, some of them charge at you, you've got the exploding guys that you can target with your guns and they take out everyone around them. And these guys swing this giant coffin around, summoning more of the 7 Hells enemies. And if you leave them alive, you can basically play an infinite combat room, which I did several times. It's great combo practice and threat management practice. I'm including the Abyss here, even though it's not one of the 7 Hells. It behaves similarly, but they're more powerful, appearing in the late game. They are awesome and really fun to do combos on. They're all great, but it's downhill from here. I went to the DMC wiki trying to remember all the enemies, and nearly every single one I clicked on after 7 Hells had me saying, nope, nope, not you, you suck, fuck that guy. The only other enemies I really like are the spiders. They're mobile, defensive, fast in their attacks. They have interesting behaviors. I just don't like how they throw 4 of them at you at once, because the camera just can't deal with them so well. The view gets obscured, it's hard to focus on who's doing what. You hear a sound cue and you don't know which spider it's coming from, and I get a lot of those wrong input dodges here where I jump by accident. These fights ended up being more frustrating than they should be, because I really like the enemy individually. Beyond that, everyone else is trash. I do think the bats are interesting, and that you have to shoot them first so they turn to stone and you have to break them before they turn back. That's interesting. I don't mind an annoying enemy here and there, but not when you put them with other annoying enemies and just fill the room with them. The enigmas aren't so bad, they are annoying too, but I don't mind them. I wouldn't call them fun to deal with. I don't know, I don't have really strong feelings toward these guys. I would lean towards not liking them. The Fallen are utter shit. There is nothing fun about fighting these floating pains in the ass. You gotta break their armor and do damage until they recharge their armor. And yeah, that's a fine mechanic, but they have so much health. They take forever to die, and they don't just put one of them in the room, you gotta fight 4 of them, and it's like, come on man, why do I have to keep doing this? The Soul Eaters only materialize and approach you if you look away from them, then you quickly turn around and kill them. Okay, a fine gimmicky enemy, but they just appear too often, and it's in areas where it's tedious to deal with them, and there's too many of them appearing at once. And they're made worse by the fact that you've been dealing with other really unfun enemies in the levels leading up to them. Enemies like the shield guys that knock you out of the air if you jump over them, and you gotta find a way behind them to kill them. Again, I don't mind gimmick enemies where you gotta do a certain thing. It's the frequency you deal with them. It's having so many of them in one room, and it's what's been happening before and after that makes it annoying. But worst of all, and the enemy that in my opinion causes the downfall of DMC3's campaign, is the chessmen. Officially called Damned Chessmen. No, their name is fucking Chessmen. Damned chess pieces appear infrequently throughout the game? My ass they do! Somewhere around mission 8 or 9, I think, of 20, these guys start appearing in mass, regularly. And you're just fighting statues. Boring, silent statues. And so many of them. Level after level has you fighting these stupid chess pieces, and in my opinion, all these chess pieces combined with the ghosts and angels and shield guys and multiplying bats, it makes the entire second half of DMC3's campaign a boring, tedious nightmare, apart from the boss fights. It's just not fun anymore. Eventually you end up in a boss battle against a couple dozen chess pieces on a chessboard, and it's absolute misery. I hate it so much. DMC fans don't actually like fighting the chess pieces, do they? I find that hard to believe. On my very hard run, I got to where all the statues appear and it just sucked all the motivation out. I had to take a multi-day break after that. So I tried the Bloody Palace. That's where all the good stuff is, right? Pure combat. I like the Bloody Palace in DMC5 a lot. The only thing I didn't like was that I had to start at level 1 every time, and it doesn't even get remotely entertaining until level 40 or so. I wish it had a system like the Cyber Grind in Ultra Kill where you can choose which level to start at. DMC3's Bloody Palace has 3 orbs on the stage. One takes you to a fight that gives you health and advances 1 level. One gives you Devil Trigger and advances 10 levels. And the other gives no reward while advancing 100 levels. And there's 9,999 levels in total, so that's cool. You can choose to advance faster through the tower if you choose, and you get resources when you need them. I like this design a lot better than DMC5's. However, the fights are all randomly generated. You could get any combination of enemies, and we just talked about how half the enemies in this game are pure crap. I played Bloody Palace on stream for like 3 hours, and after 3 hours I can safely say that this game mode fucking sucks. Fight after fight of statues and ghosts, or statues and the fallen, or the fallen and bats. It's so bad. 25% of the fights are against the worst enemies in the game, and I can't take it anymore. There's just nothing fun about this. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? I know what some of you are thinking. Mayo, you're being really negative and critical for a game you claim to like so much. Yeah, I know, but what more am I supposed to say about the positive aspects? I like the combat options, the combos are fun, I like the boss fights and most of the levels, some of the puzzles are good. There are specific things I like about this game, and they're so strong that it makes it a great game overall to me. But there are other aspects that I think are pretty bad. I'm really coming to hate the lock-on system. I've seen Dante fly into weird directions when targeting something, and I can't stand the directional input system. I want to just be able to hold lock-on and press a specific direction, and the stinger just comes out in that direction. But I always have to turn Dante around first, or the stinger won't come out. I want that sense of immediacy, and I can't get it. And I just... Look, now that I have all my abilities, now that I've been through hell, and learned to deal with the pressure, and improvise, and use my stuff to survive, I just want to style on some fools. I get it, okay? For all the people out there that think I don't know how to have fun unless a game is punishing me for not having fun at all times, it's not true. I just need the game to get me there first. DMC3 got me there. And now that I am here, I'm styling and comboing and being all crazy just because. I'm into it now. But there are so many boring, terrible enemy types in this game. The second half of the campaign sucks. Bloody Palace is a bloody disaster. I wish the total game of DMC3 reached the high levels of its combat potential. So yeah, I like DMC3 a lot, the great parts of it shine really bright. Really good boss fights, awesome combo potential. I had a lot of fun during the good parts. I can see why this game is so highly regarded amongst the fanbase, but I wasn't expecting so much of it to also be pretty bad. Not bad enough to make me dislike it. Like DMC 1, it'll be in my Game of the Year list next January. I think I like DMC 1 a little more than DMC 3, just from the overall campaign experience and tone, but I like DMC 3 way more on a mechanical level. I will not be playing on Dante Must Die difficulty because I'm just starting to sour on the campaign. For as much as I like the combat, I don't want to fight these enemies anymore, and I feel like if I played it again, the frustration and annoyance would outweigh the fun and satisfying challenge. Well, I think that's about it. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. I think I want to do DMC 4, but maybe I'll wait a bit. I have some other things I want to talk about first. Bye!
I'm Jim Cameron, and this is Aliens Expanded.
Talk to me, Hudson! Multiple signals!
Without a doubt, Aliens is the best movie that I've ever been in.
We all knew that we had something.
If you're gonna only be in one movie, this was the movie to be in.
I don't think we had seen that in film before.
It was so real.
It's brilliant.
It's so fresh, so exciting, so adrenal.
Let's pack 'em in! Get in there!
I want this thing to go smooth and by the numbers.
Paxton turned to me and he was like, "Oh dude, this is gonna be so awesome."
This wasn't just a hit movie, it was something that would really endure.
A phenomenal piece of filmmaking.
I'd been on a lot of sets, but this one was the next level.
In my mind, it was experimental cinema. Everybody thought I was nuts.
Is he going to be casual? Is he going to be a monster?
It's not easy to make a great movie. A little bit of abuse doesn't hurt.
And it all just went dark.
6. Remember, short, controlled bursts.
It absolutely blew our minds.
We were all cheering for Sigourney.
She goes 100% feral.
But she's got the gun and the flamethrower.
She's alive. There's still time.
It definitely is movie history.
It was a great time in my life.
Get away from her, you bitch!
I was born to make that movie.
Game over, man!